What's up, y'all? This is Sunny, back with another video. It's been a while since I've uploaded, but today I wanted to do a quick review of the Quit Your Job and Hate Yourself 2021 District Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses, otherwise known as the Powerful by Faith District Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I've been physically out of this organization since about 2009, and I've been mentally out since around 2014, around the time of the Royal Commission. So it's been a long time since I've been to any meetings or assemblies or conventions. I haven't gone to any in that time. Only in these last few years have I started watching these videos of the Jehovah's Witnesses broadcasting some of the meetings here and there. I've watched them through YouTubers and like Lloyd Evans and other YouTubers. But this is the first convention that I've sat through pretty much since my time when I was still mentally in the organization. And I can tell you that I had no idea that this organization had sunk as low as it has. It's the kind of thing that really you just sit there wide-eyed, kind of like with your hand over your mouth, because you just can't believe the things that are coming out of those men's mouths. It was just beyond the pale. I was completely shocked. And mind you, I watched the convention pretty much through the Lloyd Evans channel, so along with his commentary. But I made it a point to be open to anything good that those guys might be saying on that stage. I didn't want to just be biased. I wanted to be listening for anything that maybe was positive, generally good, and I found very little, if anything. I didn't find anything in this convention to recommend. So I'm just gonna, there's a couple of topics that I wanted to cover. Again, I called it the Quit Your Job and Hate Yourself District Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses, because especially the quit your job part, that was emphasized over and over and over again. I couldn't believe it. Actually, when I first started making YouTube videos, this whole idea of the Jehovah's Witnesses discouraging higher education and wanting their members, almost demanding that their members be willing to give up their jobs in order to serve this organization. I did a whole video about that because it's something that has always bothered me about this organization. And I'm actually going to run a clip of just a portion of that video that I made, because I just want to kind of emphasize to you guys how long this has been one of that organization's core beliefs. And mind you, in this really small clip that I'm going to run, I'm referencing a convention that I went to back around 2008 or 9. I remember being at a convention. I think this was after I had been disfellowshipped, but I was still trying to come back, right? And I sat there in that convention and I listened to a guy up there giving a demonstration. I have a hard time believing this is based on any actual fact. I think that this was a demonstration put together by the governing body, because no idiot would actually do this. This man in this demonstration said that he quit his job because he would have had, because of the job that he was in, he would have had to miss the convention. So he gave up that job. And here was a man who had a family, right? And that was a demonstration. This person had a job and he gave it up. So again, I sat there in that convention and I listened to that guy give that experience about how he came home from work and he told his family, he had kids and he had a wife. He told his family that he had quit his job. And I remember he was talking about how they had they had a vacation planned, like a family vacation planned. And he came home and he told them that he had quit his job. Why? So that he could go to that convention, so that he wouldn't miss the convention with his family. It's just so absurd, because there's conventions all over the country. There's multiple conventions per city, at least in my area. I imagine it's the same in other areas. So the guy could have made any of those conventions, but instead he chose to quit his job just so that he could go to the convention with his family. Never mind the fact that he could bring his family with him to another convention so that none of them would miss it. Maybe they wouldn't be able to sit there with all of their friends and people that they knew, but he could have went to the convention with his family. And you could never convince me that this whole dynamic of not being able to go to a convention with your family is worth giving up your livelihood. You could just never convince me of that. And but they had a whole experience, well, not an experience, but they had a whole dramatization on this convention. It was the guy who he was on his way to convention with his wife, and he got a call from his partner, and he said that there was something going on with one of their accounts. I think it was a couple of his accounts, and if they didn't get on it right then, they might lose those accounts. And the guy in the drama, he thought about it, and he thought about how if he didn't go to the convention and he went and took care of this business, he could be sitting there with his wife, and he could be ushering people into the convention, and he could be helping cleaning up the convention afterwards, and cleaning off windows and things like that. And that's what he would have missed out on if he would have went and took care of his business. Doing menial volunteer work for an organization that's going to sit there and present you with this propaganda all day long. Stuff that he's heard so many times over and over and over again. But the people who put together that convention, they said that this guy should be willing to risk his livelihood just so that he could make that convention. And I just remember thinking to myself while I was watching it, the wife. What do you think the wife would have really thought about this guy risking their livelihood so that he could go to the convention? Do you know anybody's wife who would accept that as being reasonable? Anybody? I don't know anybody. Furthermore, if you know anybody who's ever done something like this, who's given up his job so that he could so that he could go to the convention, or so that he could go and spend a few weeks doing construction for this organization, he's given up his job. He or she has given up his or her job so that they could go do manual labor for a few weeks in service to this organization, and then they've come back and been blessed with an even better job with even more money and even better hours. If you know somebody that has experienced that, please drop a comment in the comments below, because I would love to hear about an experience like that. Matter of fact, here's a very small clip of the drama that they had of the woman going to her job, quitting it so that she could go and serve for a couple of weeks building some property for the organization. I'm just going to run that.
So?
I wanted to first of all say thank you for taking it.
I began to explain about the construction project and how I'd been invited to volunteer.
I really like the time to...
So you want time off during the busiest time of our year?
Well, yes, but...
It's your choice, but under no circumstances will I hold your position.
I read the account about the people in Nehemiah's day. Their willing spirit demonstrated faith, and Jerusalem's walls were built by people who put their heart into the work. I didn't didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to serve Jehovah in that way. This is my resignation letter. I had to have faith that Jehovah would bless my decision.
So there it is. You know, we're not making this stuff up. This is the propaganda that this organization presents to its members. This is the direction that this organization expects its members to follow. Now, just thinking about myself, I've been at my job for 16 years. That's not including the 2 years that I was hourly, starting in around 2002 or 3, where I wasn't actually a full-time permanent member of the hospital. But around 2005, I got hired full-time permanent at the hospital, and I've been there ever since. About 16 years full-time permanent. I have a retirement plan that's got over $60,000 in it. You know, that's for 15 years worth of work. So it's not much, you know, but it's something. You know, I've got another probably 18 years in the workforce that's going to where the retirement that the money that I put into that retirement plan is going to build up for another 18 years. And so I don't know, maybe it'll be double what it is now by the time I'm ready to retire. So when I retire, I'll have a stipend based on the amount of money that has, you know, been invested, you know, by my hospital into this retirement fund. I'll have a monthly stipend based on that, and I'll also have Social Security, you know, that hopefully we'll all get to enjoy by retirement age, and that's what I'll have to live on. That's what I'll have to take care of myself, my wife, my kids, and my grandkids, should they ever need some help. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses organization would have me give all of that up. Give all of that up, all of that retirement that I've built up, if the opportunity arose where I had the chance to go to some country or go somewhere and build property for this organization. They would have me give up my retirement plan. They would have me quit my job, walk into my employer and say, you know what? It's been a nice 16 years, but see, I have an opportunity to go and be a volunteer for this religious organization for about 3 weeks or so. I asked you guys about it and you weren't able to give me that time off. So here's my resignation. See, it's absurd. I don't even know what else I need to say about that. It's just patently absurd. And when you think about this organization, this is their message. This is one of their core beliefs. And you just have to wonder why. Why is this organization, why are they so, I mean, they emphasized it so many times in this convention and for years. They don't want you to invest in any sort of higher education so that you could get a decent job that pays a decent wage. They don't want you to do that, you know. But you do get a job, you know, that allows for you to take care of yourself. And they want you to be willing to quit that job so that you could be a volunteer for them. And at the same time, they had a whole, I don't know how long the talk was, but it was decent in length, talking about giving to this organization. They had a cartoon where the little girl took her ice cream money and instead put it into the contribution box. So this organization has been desperate for money from its members for years and years and years and years, you know? So they're begging money. They're to the point where they're begging children for their ice cream money to donate to this organization, while at the same time demanding that its members be willing to give up their jobs so that they could volunteer for that organization, you know? And you know what? Let's go even deeper into it. I'm gonna talk to you guys about, you know what? Let's talk about my bills that I have to pay every single month. My rent is $1,070 a month. That's water, sewer, and garbage. My car payment is $132 a month. My credit card payment is $117 a month. My insurance is $98 a month. My phone bill is $61 a month. My heat is anywhere between $35 and $50 a month. My internet, I got HBO Max and Netflix, that's $39 a month, see? So that's about $35 or so that I have to pay every month. Those are my obligations. You know, I have to do that every month. You've got your obligations. This organization, if I was still a member, would insist that I be willing to risk all of that, risk all of my monetary obligations that I've had for years and that I will continue to have into the future, risk all of that so that I can serve them, so I can volunteer for them. And you'll note that when I just ran down all of those bills to you, I didn't mention things like laundry, right? I didn't mention things like putting a little bit into savings, you know, so that I could maybe go on vacation someday, or just building up a savings because everybody needs a savings for a rainy day, you know? I didn't mention things like gas. I didn't mention things like clothes, you know? I didn't mention food, you know? I didn't even mention food. See, these are all the monthly things that we have to think about, that are, as rank and file individuals, you know, if I was a Jehovah's Witness, this would apply to me, but as rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses, these are monthly obligations that these people have every month. And I don't have kids. What if I had kids? You know, what if I had a wife to take care of? It's just disgusting, you know. That's all it is. It's just absolutely disgusting, and I just do not understand it, and I never will. You can never, it's indefensible, you know. And how insensitive is it of them to be talking like this in the middle of a pandemic? You know, how many people do you know lost their job last year? You know, people are struggling. People are struggling. You know, just when it seems like we're coming out of it, it seems like it's only getting worse. You know, it's bad right now. You know, if you have a job that you can go to, maybe you're working from home, but if you have a job, an occupation that you can rely on, don't give it up for this organization. Please, I'm begging you, don't do it. You know, think about how absurd it is that this organization expects you to be able to do that anyways. Think about how awful it is that they would present this message at a time when things are so bad that they can't even hold meetings indoors. You know, things are so bad that, you know, people are just struggling. So I'm not going to belabor that point anymore. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the hate yourself. Again, I mentioned that this was the Quit Your Job and Hate Yourself District Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses. So at this point, we got to talk about the baptism talk, because that was just unspeakable. I heard things in that baptism talk. It doesn't seem like they were talking like that when I was still a witness. I'm going to go ahead and run just a few seconds of what I consider to be, this is some of the worst rhetoric, the most shameless, the most awful, the most disturbing rhetoric that I have ever heard from this organization. And this is even including that Looney Tunes nonsense that we read in the Revelation book. This is even including that stuff from those books that came out in the 20s and 30s. This is right up there with some of the most awful sentiments that I have ever heard from this organization. Watch this.
Keep clear in mind, though, that happiness is not something that you can buy for yourself or get for yourself, or you can't get it by loving yourself. Just like the warmth and light are byproducts of a wood fire, so too happiness is a byproduct of faith and love for others and for Jehovah. We could say that happiness is the warmth and glow from love's fire. The world will tell you, you can follow your dreams. You can be anything you want to be. But it is far better to let Jehovah dream for you. Your life serving Jehovah can be far greater than anything you could dream up for yourself.
So that man stood up there in front of those people and he said that you can't find happiness in just loving yourself. You can only find happiness in serving others, helping others, and in service to this Jehovah. When he said that, first time I heard him say that you can't find happiness by loving yourself, it's like my heart skipped a beat, because that goes against common sense, it goes against logic, it goes against reason. It's just, that's the kind of a thing that a desperate person would say. That's the kind of thing that is so awful. That's something that a sociopath would say. That's something that someone who is so invested in furthering his own ideals and his own message, whatever that might be, that this person would be willing to say anything he's directed to say, no matter how awful it is. And then, of course, the part about when he said that the world will tell you that you can, find happiness by fulfilling your dreams, but how much more better is it for Jehovah to dream for you? Again, that's the type of thing that is alarm bells should be going off in your head when you hear something like that, because I honestly believe that it's just too much. It's just too much, Now, I want you guys to imagine for a minute that you're someone who copes with depression. You're someone who copes with low self-esteem that is so low that you can barely even get out of bed, that you can barely even get up and go engage with people at school or on your job. You're so depressed, that the idea of even allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to actually develop feelings for someone in hopes of actually starting up a relationship with this person, you're depressed, you're so depressed, and you have so much self-loathing and self-hate that's just out of the question. That's how deep your self-loathing is. That's how low your self-esteem is. See, but by some miracle, you've had your family tell you, look, just go to therapy. Go to therapy and see what they have to say to you. Maybe you've had friends or siblings that have seen how, in how bad a shape that you are, and they've begged you to go see somebody, go talk to somebody. And again, by some miracle, you've gotten up the strength and the courage to actually go and do it. And you've sat down with a therapist. Now, imagine that therapist said to you, she said, you can't find happiness in just loving yourself. The only way that you can find happiness is by going into the Jehovah's Witnesses, going into one of those kingdom halls and finding a way to engage with the Jehovah's Witnesses deity, with the God that the Jehovah's Witnesses worship. That's the only way that you will be able to find this happiness that's so elusive to you. See, you can't find happiness in just loving yourself, so don't try. So don't even try. See, can you imagine how crushed an individual would be if they went to a therapist and their therapist says something like that to them? And even further, imagine that you're someone who used to be a Jehovah's Witness. Maybe you disassociated. Maybe you got disfellowshipped. And again, this therapist tells you that actually what you need to do is go into that Kingdom Hall. And again, you need to find a way to engage with the Jehovah's Witnesses God. Even though, you know, you're someone who suffered abuse in that organization. You know, that's why you left. You know, maybe going to the most local Kingdom Hall in your area, maybe you'd have to go in there and look at the person who actually perpetrated those crimes against you, right? And it was never dealt with by the police. See? So the idea of you actually going into a Kingdom Hall is emotionally traumatizing just because of your experiences. See, you know in your heart that there's no way that any loving God can support an organization with policies that protect the abuser, defend the abuser, as the Jehovah's Witnesses reputation suggests so strongly, right? But again, your therapist has told you, hey, you know what, Sonny? I'm sorry to tell you this, but you can't find happiness just by loving yourself. So you don't even need to try. You need to go to that Kingdom Hall and find a way to engage with those people, you know, and build up a relationship with their God. It's absolutely absurd, you know. So those are just some thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys. Some thoughts that I've been kind of thinking about for a long time ever since that assembly. And I don't know, maybe we were able to take something from that. Please drop a comment in the comments section. Talk about whatever you want. You know, if you want to chat or whatever, you can holler at me. My email address is truesonny@gmail.com. TRUESONNY. Actually, it's TRUESONNY74@gmail.com. I'm gonna, in the description, I'll you know, also show my email address. I only use that email address for my YouTube channel, so I don't use it very often. That's why I got to make sure that I said it right for you guys. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and call it good for this video. I hope you guys have a great evening. You'll note that I didn't talk about that apostasy talk in this video. Stay tuned because I've got some stuff to say about that talk as well. You guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.